And so now that we have our 3 mountains, we can texture them. I usually like to have 3 different colors so they add some contrast. And usually a green, a brown, and a rock color. And one I like going to would be dirt. I'd say any of these dirts would work fine, but we'll go with 1 for now. And then we'll grab a grass effect, and one that's pretty strong, foliage. I've been using that quite a bit. And then finally, we'll grab a rock color. There's a few different good options here, but for this one, we'll just stick with Rock Cliff 01. And you can change that if you don't like the way it looks initially. Okay, so now we'll get to painting. So for the first layer, I'll add dirt and just color the mountains each separately. Here, I'll raise it to max, get this over with quickly. Hardness all the way. There we go. And now you have a sand dune. Okay, now that you have your base color tone of dirt on your mountains, you can start doing some other things to them to add to it. So for the cliff tool, I really like to stay hardness pretty low so I can touch the tip of the mountain and have a good effect on it. And a really cool thing I like to use is the brush constraints. I've been using that quite a lot. And so the starting altitude right here is 110. So minimum altitude is 110. And then from there, since we're going to be using the rock, it usually gets more rocky near the top. So we'll say 25 is probably about right there. And then the minimum slope, so that's like steep slopes, would be near maximum. So I'd say these are about like 80. It's kind of hard to see through that radius, but eh. Okay, and for this, I'd say the minimum slope would be good right around, we'll start kind of high. We'll do about 65 to begin with. And then we'll just click and see how this goes. Okay, there we go. Now we have a pretty decent layer of rock to look at. So it kind of gives it that mountainous look going up. And I don't really like the way this cliff looks, so let's mess around with it. Okay, there we go. I think I like this one. It says it has some green in it, but you can't really see it, and it kind of adds to it. And now we'll add our foliage. And this one is a fun one to do. Brush constraints, we'll change it so it's the exact opposite. So minimum slope will be 110. Maximum slope will be, we'll say 10 less than that one. So 55. Do 30, 45, 46, whatever. That works too. Okay, so now that we have it opposite, I'm going to find out the level of the very tip top of the mountain. What is it? 181. So we'll take that, bring it to the paint thing, and we'll make the maximum slope about 175 to where the grass stops growing. Go above it with grass. Raise this so the bottom gets colored. Hardness, lower it. There we go. We'll take it down a little bit more, maybe 155. Here we go. Let's go. So maybe a bit less than the altitude, 155. Let's try that. We don't want to hold it for long, maybe like a few seconds, because too much green will be overpowering. So, boom. And now it has a slight green hue going up, and then kind of disappears near the top. And then if you want to make any final adjustments, because this is about all we have to do and we only use the brush constraints, you can turn that off, lower the radius, grab the cliff, keep it near the top, lower it, holding shift or just lowering it manually. And you could just complete that all the way around. And if you really wanted to make it easier, you could just do the same thing. Turn on brush constraints again, and this time make altitude like, let's see, we don't want it to be too low, so maybe 135. Or, oh, well, not 35, 135. There we go. And then the maximum slope will be all the way up. Minimum slope, bring to about there, so it changes still, and then let it do work. There we go. Now it's an even more rocky looking mountain if you want it to look like that. But I don't, so I will change the minimum slope to something even higher, maybe about there. Try that. Okay, even higher. Let's go 65. And you gotta find a good medium, so maybe 58, I'd say. Okay, and that'll color in a lot more of the bottom. Okay, and that's a quick way to color this type of mountain. And now we can take this almost same method and apply it to these ones. And these ones might need a bit less of a slope to give it that rocky. So we'll just go 10 less than it was before, and then boom. Alright, now we got the base rocky bits on those, and these ones might be a bit more grassy because this one's just kind of like a top of a mountain looking thing. Okay, there we go. Now we have our basic mountains for terrain work. And so I'll just kind of do the same thing, create a few more mountains around the outside and try to give it a mountainous look, and then I'll show you some other methods of creating cliffs in the middle here. Let's just say we want the inside of the map to be about right there, so you can still see the outside mountains, but you'll have this base inside to kind of work with as a playground. And then we'll take some trees in between. I think for these ones we'll just use some alpines. Where are the alpines? There we go. Raise the radius a bit, and boom. Now we have some trees in between to kind of cover up the mountains from the play area. And now you can kind of see how these mountains look through the trees, and they give off that cool looking background effect. So now we'll create the cliffs. First thing I'll do is find out what color I want. So we'll go to rocks, and since we use the alpine trees, might as well use the alpine color. And then we'll just get all the cliffs placed down right here. Okay, so now that we got the objects rotated, we'll start by selecting one, and we don't want to repeat the same cliff over and over again, so we'll just grab each one, kind of place them in a random place as kind of a basis. Okay, we'll take these 3 and just copy and paste them. Rotate slightly to kind of go with the curve. And then let's say we want some ramps going up to the top, and we'll just go like that for now. Okay, so now we have a nice little cliff looking thing right here. And this isn't where you want to end it. You might want to add a few more things so it's not just a bunch of rocks lined up. So we'll just take the ramp tool. So if we want to get up there in our map, we have a way to get up there and just kind of smooth that out. And you could do this all the way around if you want, or just like that, and have different areas where you could just walk up. And you don't have to use the ramp tool. You could also use the smooth tool. Just take it up all the way, hardness a little bit more, and radius like that. Not like that at all. Let's just go like that, and it'll kind of pull everything evenly. And that's one way you can do it, but I like adding more roughness and not too much of the same thing, I guess you could say. There we go. And then we don't want to stop there with the cliffs, so we'll work on the bottom. You want to make it look like they've been there for a while, so they have these rock piles. You can just place right here, get a few laid down so you can repeat them going across. And the more rocks you add, the more aged it'll look. So just keep going, however many you want to put, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we'll just call it good there. So now we have the rocks, so it looks like it hasn't been there for just a year. And we'll take the bump tool. What I like doing is moving it to about 2. Move the speed down quite a bit, and then kind of bump near the base. That was too much of a bit. Oh, good. There we go. And then you want to pull that up so it looks like the dirt or gravel has like gathered amongst the edges from wind and things like that. Okay, and now we'll fix the top. And for this, we'll just use the smooth tool. Lower it a little bit. And then make sure the top is in flux with the cliff base. Okay, now we'll want to color it. So usually, like if I'm making a map, I'll change this to like some sort of grass. We'll just say alpine for that. There we go. That is way too orange. Let's do a different one. So maybe a grass dirt hybrid. There we go. That should work a little bit better. And it looks very, very plain now, as you can see. But we'll start getting to coloring and it'll change quite drastically. Okay, so we'll apply our layer of dirt. We'll use brush constraints. Change the maximum slope to about that. Minimum, not all the way down. And we'll just go across it. There we go, and now we'll add cliffs. So this one, we'll want to push all the way up with maximum. Okay, so now we'll want to put our base layer of dirt. So we'll turn brush constraints on, and I put the maximum slope all the way up and minimum slope not quite hitting the bottom. But okay, now we'll go across like this. There we go, and now we have the dirt effect on there. So now there's like a slight transition from dirt to dirt grass. And then we'll take grass foliage, minimum slope, maximum slope, a little bit higher than that. So now you have your colors kind of like pulling against each other to bring these cliffs, or make these cliffs stand out more. And now we'll color in dirt. So I kind of like to stick it near the rocks. Adds that nice little offset from green, and then transition to the actual rock color, if that makes sense. So now that we got the main terrain work out of the way, let's build not a lake, but a river. We'll see how this goes. Get these out of the way. And they aren't really usually too rugged, so we'll just go with the bump tool this time. And maybe raise the hardness a bit, so that way we have a good center going on. There we go. And then left trigger on consoles, or hold control and click on PC and just kind of drag it across. It's pretty simple compared to making mountains, but then you can add a lot more details to it later on to bring out the river and make it stand out, so the shoreline to where it meets the water isn't as smooth. Instead of using the ocean though, I will use the lakes, and this is a cool new thing they added. And you can carry a square of water wherever you go and just lower that into the ground to where you want it instead of actually having a level set, and then move the length to about there to a river size, and then we'll move it so it covers the whole thing. There we go. And now from there we could just raise and lower it from the corner point. Now it's looking more rivery and rocky rivery. Then almost always you'll find smaller rocks across the riverbanks. Okay, now it's time to color the river, so I'll just raise the radius, select dirt. That's a little bit too much, there we go, and then go across with dirt. I'll go back over the grass near the higher parts of the river and part of the ones leading down into it. Okay, there we go. Now we have our basic river, and we can change the way it looks by making it into streams, which gives it a pretty decent, really quick look. I don't know, it's kind of strange to me. I haven't used it, but you can also do actual rivers, like River Fast. There we go. And now it's how it's supposed to look, I guess. And then you don't want it all to be smooth, so you could even use the noise tool. Roughness, speed about there, and just kind of go across it to roughen up the edges a little bit. And then another thing that might help is erosion. Kind of stick it the same as the mountains and have it pull kind of towards the center. Okay, and then you could definitely detail the bottom of the river too, because most rivers have rocks sticking out. So there we go. Let's have a few sticking out here and there, maybe a few small ones near the surface. And then you could even have some that you can't really see unless you're swimming, like that. It'll make it seem more like a quick riverbed. There we go. We have a small river slash forest scene and a backdrop as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video, whether it be a tutorial or other.